orange Ferrari. And green flag flies, we're racing. The Acura gets a great start from behind. 3 wide up the inside. Closing in on him here through turn number 2. Big slide on corner entry.
Here's, that's a big aggressive dive up the inside there from the Lamborghini. Some bragging rights here, I think, between the two. Look at that slide up ahead from Simpson. That thing was totally sideways, but he was able to catch it.
Race lead. Fantastic stuff here in the F Cup. Big chop by the 777 car off the nose of that. You saw the corner, didn't have overlap, and went right to the apex. Checkered flag, and Adam Youngblood will win the AM race in the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League and pick up a checkered flag, a wet one here at the Huntsville Range. The Motorsports offseason isn't an offseason at all. Racers got to race no matter what the medium or method. For CrowdStrike friends and family, the winter time is simulator time. And using Assetto Corsa Competizione, we're meeting on the weekends to race in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. A few weeks back, the field took on Mount Panorama in Bathurst, Australia, but now a trip to the UK brings us to the racing haven of Brands Hatch Circuit for round 2 of the season. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by DJ Clark for the second round of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. DJ, welcome aboard. Of course, CrowdStrike and SRO and GT World Challenge America work very closely together, and this offseason, we're going racing on the weekends.
We are indeed, and we are so happy to be doing that with CrowdStrike, which is a leading cybersecurity technology company and the leader of the world in cloud-delivered endpoint protection. Absolutely happy to have them on board setting up this series, and gives us something to be excited for on the weekends. As we'd normally be in hibernation right now from racing, Kyle, but certainly don't have that, and we're ready to get out and get onto the track.
The shortest hibernation I can possibly have, I'd be happy to have here for the winter. No racing is bad. I want racing, whether it's racing golf carts or whether it's racing in the sim or heading to the racetrack in the real world. 2023 SRO schedule is out. Some exciting places and things coming up next season, but today and right now qualifying underway for our second round of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Last week's winner from our pro category at Bathurst, Josh Staffen, right now on track in a great looking real-time racing Aaron Vogel Racing livery. He heads into turn 1 here at Brands Hatch Circuit. DJ, this place is a very, very fun racetrack, and I called it a racing haven. It really is one of my favorite racetracks in Europe.
Yeah, it's one of mine as well, Kyle, and it really is truly an old school circuit. You can see as you run around here, no paved runoff whatsoever, grass on either side, ready to collect you, ready to grab you, and it has that sort of flow and rhythm that we're used to seeing at some of the older circuits. There's not a lot of super heavy braking zones. It's a lot of medium to, I'll call them medium to high speed corners really around this entire circuit. It makes overtaking very, very difficult, but it raises the bar in terms of making a mistake. Very easy to just set a single tire off wrong and find yourself off into the grass or the barriers.
Yeah, it's real old school in that way. Not a lot of paved runoff, as you mentioned. There are some areas where you can get a little greedy with the curves, especially as we head down here to the backside of the racetrack. This next corner, this right-hand fling, such a fun corner, but you got to get really aggressive on the inside there. Cut that turn like Staffen is setting up for right now. He ran a little slowly this past lap. You see him kind of slowing way down, getting some heat in the tires and brakes. Real pro maneuvers there. He's got the white number background. That specifies our pro category. Everyone else here for fun, running in the AM class there with the red number backgrounds.
Yeah, and just as we saw as Bathurst, that's really going to keep everybody on their toes and keep this race exciting and interesting as Staffen comes around now through Clark Curve, this curving front straightaway that brings you back down around it. And watch here, through Paddock Hill Bend and down into Druids, the first 2 corners on this circuit. This is really going to be your best opportunity to overtake. You're going to want to try to either dive to the inside or the outside, going down into Paddock Hill Bend, and then pick your line and hopefully get down to the inside there through Druids. That's going to be your best opportunity to get an overtake, but plenty of different opportunities all around this race course to just have a blast as there we see him flying through Grand Hill Bend.
And then heading up, this is the hill that leads towards Hawthorne Bend at the end of this very long straightaway here. Then you're into the Derek Minter Straight, Westfield Bend, the first of the 2 major right-handers. A little bit of a kink, that's Dingle Dell. That's coming up here in just a moment, so let's ride on board. Here's Hawthorne Bend. High speed here, down a gear, throttle back up. This is Westfield Bend, this first right-hander, and then into Dingle Dell. Fun name to say, fun area of the racetrack to race right here, this right-hand kink. And then you're into Sheen's Corner, this one where you got to take this big cut on the inside. Ooh, looks like Staffen just missed the turn in. Then you're down into Sterling's, one of the last corners here, penultimate corner, and then up to Clark Curve to finish out a lap here. It happens pretty quickly at about 1:25. As you see, Bill Clark on the top of the board right now in the number 24. He's put that Audi up front for the time being. Here's a look at Bill. Easy to spot in that bright pink car, and we've seen Clark really be a force to be reckoned with, but Staffen immediately to the top.
Yeah, Staffen right up to the top, and I'm not entirely surprised to see that Audi doing well here. The acceleration off of the line from that machine is certainly something that we can expect to do well, and so the ability to just get a good bite, and the fact that you're really not running at full tilt the entire time. We've seen that car have some failings on some high-speed circuits such as Road America or Sebring here in the Fanatec GT World Challenge America season, but here at Brands Hatch, the little straights. Ooh, that's not going to be a fast time, though, for Bill, as he gets at things a little bit wrong there coming down into Dingle Dell.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there. Here's the other Bill Strobel in the 888. Ran real well last time out at Bathurst, but I think is probably in a great position to fight Vlad Dola in the number 5, who is the winner in the AM category in the number 5 last time out. So Bill right now second in the AM category, just 0.2 of a second off of the driver ahead of him. That's Vlad in that number 5. See Bill Clark again behind him. A lot of Audis, though. You mentioned the strengths of the Audi here, but look at the diversity, especially in the second half of the field. We've got representation from Acura, Audi, BMW, Porsche, Lexus, Lamborghini, Nissan, McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes-AMG. This is why I love GT racing, DJ. The variety of manufacturers and how all the cars drive so different, but yet can race together and make the same lap time.
Yeah, it's simply incredible, and the BOP here, the balance of performance, specifically in ACC, absolutely second to none, making all of these cars able to get similar lap times, but they're going to get it in different ways around the circuit, horses for courses, as you like to say, Kyle, and very, very great representation. And I've got to give massive credit here to Fabricus, seeing that's Nissan in the field. It's been a while since I've seen that car out on the track.
Yeah, this is not a car that we see a lot, and I guess we're going to get to see it a little bit today. There's Mads Fabricus in the number 1 car, and it's easy to spot with the lime green wing end plates and the kind of magenta paint coloring there. But this car, of course, in GT3 trim is not all-wheel drive like the street car. It's got that rear-wheel drive conversion, but kind of a meaty car, and it has some strengths and some weaknesses. This is not a track I probably would have thought that this car was going to be dominant on, but we'll see how Mads does right now, currently 11th on the board.
Currently 11th on the board, and in a good moment for here to talk about a Nissan coming back into the world of GT racing officially. The GT4 unveiled earlier this year. Very excited to see that car running in GT America and Pirelli GT4 over the course of this upcoming 2023 season.
And I can't wait to see that new Nissan Z GT4 car. It looks the part. I want one. I'm actually pretty jealous of the people that already have been driving one around the street. Of course, an iteration of the 370Z, which was such a popular car for so long, but some major updates, especially in the visual department, and boy, it is a racy looking race car. Very clean. Can't wait to see it next season in the SRO paddock. And so Mads works his way around. And while we're on the topic of some new cars and new things going on, Turtan in the number 88 is running the Lexus RCF GT3, but parent company Toyota has got a new project that we're going to see in the SRO paddock next year with the Toyota GR86 Cup coming into the paddock and running 7 rounds across the 2023 season.
Yeah, very excited to see that as SRO America continues to expand their offerings. Going to be for about those 7 race weekends, a 5-race schedule over the course of a single weekend with GT America, Fanatec GT World Challenge America, Pirelli GT4, and TC America. Going to be absolutely incredible, and it's going to keep us pretty busy, Kyle.
I think if you don't like cars or you don't like racing, you're going to have a really hard time being at the weekend, because there's just so much going on with so many different kinds of racing to watch. If you can't find something you like there, then you're definitely not a race fan. I would say there's something for everybody across the board there, working your way up the ladder series and then into Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS. 10 minutes left here at qualifying. 2 pros at the top of the board, Staffen and Bill Clark. Then it's Bill Strobel, Vlad Dola, and Alexandru Turtan in 5th. There's John W. in the number 32 Porsche, going for a little bit of an off-road excursion, but currently 6th overall in a GMG Racing team car, at least by the looks of the team on the bottom right of the screen.
Yeah, you can see those distinctive sunflowers there on the side of the car, so definitely doing that. And as we said, that little bit of a mistake there coming through Westfield, very easy to do the car in front. Also making a little bit of a mistake there, just trailing across the grass. And that's something that we're going to be seeing and talking about a lot over the course of this 40-minute race, as we already have here in qualifying. Drivers just have to be on the limit around here, but it is so easy to step over that limit. Just put a single half a tire length wrong here at Brands Hatch, and you're gonna find yourself skating off. Now, I want to give credit to the drivers that we've seen. We've seen a couple of little mistakes here and there, but for the most part, they've been able to keep the cars pointed the right way, and that's really a testament to their driver control.
Yeah, certainly, and of course, especially in the M category, these are not necessarily drivers that spend their entire offseason running in Assetto Corsa Competizione. For a lot of these drivers, this is just kind of a fun hobby to play around with, and they're not necessarily quite as serious as those, at least from a competition standpoint, in the pro category. So everyone's been doing a fantastic job here in qualifying, keeping the cars pointed in the right direction and really putting on a good show here so far as we work our way towards the end of qualifying. There's Andy Edwards in one of my favorite cars, a car I always describe all the British cars, DJ, as swoopy. This is the McLaren 720S, and man, I missed not having one of these in the paddock last year. We had one in 2021, but man, they are so cool looking. They got those awesome kind of front hinge doors. Really neat vehicle.
Yes, indeed, and of course going to be having hopefully the re-emergence of McLaren back into the paddock with the announcement of the McLaren Arturo coming into competition next year for GT4, so that's one we're going to have to keep our eye on. But yeah, I have to agree with you. Any of the McLarens, any of the Aston Martins that we see up and down the field, just absolutely gorgeous looking cars. They have that simultaneous ability to look fast and look elegant, and it's really pretty incredible to see.
Yeah, looking elegant is never an issue with McLaren in particular. Other cars on track at the moment, Greg Meismer in a Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. This one with the TR3 livery, and great to see a lot of the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS cars here that were represented in our paddock in Assetto Corsa Competizione and TR3. One of the Lamborghini entries, of course, got the K-Pax liveries available as well. But Lamborghini, one of my favorite sounding cars, DJ. The naturally aspirated V10 certainly makes quite the note.
Yeah, it certainly does. Just that scream that you can really hear it make. And I know many, many times over the course of the season, Kyle, you and I had the ability to listen to that scream compared to one of my personal favorite sounding cars, and that is the Mercedes-AMG GT3 with that guttural just sort of growl as it makes its way down the straightaways. And hearing that combined with the Lamborghini, it is an absolute symphony of engine noises, but one of the most beautiful sounding things you will ever hear.
There's a good look at Mark Warfield's Mercedes-AMG and the sound of the 6.2-liter V8, the ground-pounding engine that this car has. And that's not to take away anything from the GT4 variant of this car that has the 5.5-liter, or I guess is it 4.6-liter bi-turbo? It's something like that. It sounds awesome regardless. But Mark working his way now 22nd. 23 drivers in the field here as Mark goes a little bit wide and through goes, I think that was Strobel in the 888 in the CrowdStrike Racing livery.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a hairy moment for Bill Strobel, and maybe a little bit of a harbinger of what is to come later on in this race. I think we're going to see a little bit of those mistakes creeping their way in, especially when these drivers start to battle wheel to wheel. And I think the drivers that you're going to see best are the ones who are able to react quickest to the incident around them, try to avoid it, try to get out of the way of it, and just keep those cars clean and out of trouble.
Yeah, certainly surviving the opening laps is always critical. Now remember, the opening lap at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, first round we had a crash on the downhill. We made it through the uphill without any incident, but thankfully for those Brands Hatch doesn't have quite as many places where you can kind of get boxed in. Their walls at least are a little farther away from the circuit, so you can kind of bail to the grass if you need to. But the goal is make it through lap 1 and then slowly but surely work your way through the field. But this is why qualifying is so important, is to get ahead of all the potential issues at the start of the race.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to put yourself into a position where you are going to be absolutely safest, and you are not going to have to worry about any of those comings together that you're going to see later on in this session. As we see, I believe that is one of the NSXs coming down into pit lane. I think that's Tan coming on in. Here is Nicholas Sommer coming across the line right now. Looks like he's going to stay in about 8th place overall.
Yeah, 8th place overall. Looks like P5 for the AM category. Again, points being scored separately, and briefly we'll tell you about the point situation right now in the AM class. It's Vlad Dola, Martin Lassen, and Alexandru Turtan, the top 3 in our GT3 AM. In GT3 Pro, it's Josh Staffen, Arup Kumar, who I don't believe is here today, and Christopher Weil, who I also believe is not here today. So for Staffen, the next driver he's got to worry about is Bill Clark, who's second on the board and 3/10 behind him.
Yeah, he's got to worry about that, as Staffen is in good position here, and it looks like that's going to be the battle up in that pro category. Some pretty close running, though, it has to be said, for the AM category right now. I mean, look at that. Talking about just over 1/10 of a second between Strobel and Dola there. Not a whole lot separating them, and some pretty close distances as we continue to work our way back through the field as well. So I think this is setting ourselves up here for a pretty close and competitive race.
Yeah, I can't wait. Look at Pratik Mishra, only about 100th off of Alex Asso right ahead of him, just by, what is that, about 1/10 of a second, and it's coming down potentially with Mishra in the green here on this lap. If he can carry it through Sterling's and back around to the start-finish line, he might start top 10. Big push, though, through Sterling's, drops a tire, but he carries on.
Yeah, and you can get away with that a little bit, as I said, just kind of experimenting, pushing the boundaries a little bit for Mishra, but you got to be careful. You don't want to put those 2 tires over the edge and get it too wrong here, as Pratik's now going to come across the line. Let's see if he's able to improve right now. I don't think he is good. Oh, he is. Yes, he is. Good run there. He's going to jump up to 8th place.
Yeah, gained 3 spots with that as he jumps up to a 1:26.610. And very, very strong lap indeed. Josh Staffen is off track. He has come down to pit lane. Bill Clark is rolling through the top of the hill right now and was green for a moment, so he's still trying to run down Staffen. Look, he's cut that advantage in half. Only about 1/10.5 between Clark and Staffen here at the top of the board.
Yeah, and crucially, he's going to be getting just a little hint of the draft off of that BMW in front of him. Now, this isn't going to be as big of an issue necessarily as it would be when you're dealing on a longer circuit. We talked about, obviously, last time out of Bathurst, going down the mountain straight, the Conrad straight, but just getting that little bit of a draft going down through Pilgrim's Drop, that back straightaway, that could help him out a little bit and maybe get him just the advantage he needs to be able to close in on Josh Staffen.
Yeah, it might help him. Right now, it doesn't appear like there's much of a delta to his best lap. Ooh, a little bit of a slip and miss through Sheens, now into Sterling's. He's down 1/10. Can he gain it back? Good line through Sterling's here. Gets up on the edge of the curb. Just don't know if he gained any of that time back. It was just a little bit of a miss. I'm sure the penalties for cutting Sheens are pretty significant, though. Little wiggle and a wobble out of the final corner, and Clark across the line. He'll get one more go at this, but he's going to bail out before he gets to the line. He will not go faster on that lap.
Yeah, I think he just felt he didn't have it there and may have actually underfueled the car a little bit to go back out, try to set down that one time. Here's Darren Meyer. That's a BMW that's seen some better days, some hefty damage to the front nose of that machine. You can see the hood almost flapping around there on it.
Yeah, it's a good thing it's got so much bodywork, otherwise it might not have any left at this stage after having an impact with either another competitor or the wall, but currently scored P20 at the moment. And a little ways off of Julius Tan, who's just up the road in pit lane. So with that, about a minute left here in qualifying. Here's Bill Strobel, 3rd overall. Still trying to go a little bit faster, and at the moment he appears to not be on it too hard here, but we'll see if he'll make up any time. He's down a 10th off his best lap.
Yeah, and I think what Bill's probably trying to do here at this point is yes, try to see if he can improve a little bit on the time, but more important than that is just build that rhythm, get that muscle memory really locked in and feel the track out as much as possible. Brands Hatch is one of those circuits that we like to call a rhythm circuit. You need to be on it around here. You need to feel the road and feel how it's going to break away from you. If you get into that rhythm around here, this track is a delight to drive. If you break that rhythm, you make a couple of mistakes here and there and find yourself having to drive from behind on the circuit, this can be a real long day.
Here comes Turtan. He was up for a moment across the line. Is it faster? Yes, it is. He'll jump a spot up into 5th place, 126.027. Strobel was a tenth slower. Vlad Dola, it looks about even. He could go faster across the line. Will he? This time he will, but not enough to jump a spot. Only 7 thousandths off of Strobel to go up into the inside of row number 1. But qualifying is complete. He will pull off to the inside as Strobel rolls around. Turtan is in the green again, so he's still trying to get after it.
Yeah, Turtan trying to see what he's able to do here from 5th place. Has about, let's call it 0.6 of a second to try to gain in on Vlad Dola there up in front of him. That's going to be a pretty hefty ask to do, but we'll have to see if Turtan is able to close that in. He can pick up a lot of time here on the back half of this circuit.
Yeah, this next couple corners is so critical. He's up 0.2 at the moment. Now down to 1/10. A little conservative there. Downshifted once too many, but I think he's all right. Now through Sheens, he's got to carry good speed for here. Critical corner. Had to wait on throttle. Now Sterling's and 2 more corners left, DJ.
All right, let's see how he gets it. Good apex there coming through Sterling's. Oh, catches a little bit of the curve, and that is going to be Turtan's lap done and dusted, unfortunately.
Yeah, he lost 0.3 of a second with that slide, and it will drop him out of his competitive time that he was running, and he was the last driver attempting to make a qualifying lap. So with that, qualifying is complete. Staff and Clark will share the front row in the pro category. Strobel and Dola in row 2 overall, leading in the AM category. We'll go over the rest of the starting lineup here in just a minute, but we've got a few minutes to talk about the expectations for this race. DJ, you already mentioned keeping it clean for the first couple laps. What about changing weather conditions? How much will that play a factor, you think, today?
Well, I think drivers are going to have to keep their eyes open and be aware of what can come. You can see it's a pretty overcast day here at this point. Not exactly unrepresentative of what a British summertime would be. So I think they're going to have to keep their eyes on it. It's going to be cold track temperatures out here, so watch for them really on the pace lap to do a lot of scrubbing of the tires, a lot of accelerating and braking, trying to get heat not only into the tires but into the brakes as well. And I think the first couple of corners here, if these drivers play it smart, you've got to back it off a little bit, not be too aggressive, wait for tire temperatures to come up and rise, and then maybe get a little bit more feisty when you come around for lap 2.
So no rain expected here, but perhaps changing cloud coverage can shade the track in different areas. If we get some sun, it can change things as well. And we're just about 3 minutes from launching here. You're watching the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League, round number 2 of the season from Brands Hatch Circuit in the UK. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by DJ Clark. We're in Assetto Corsa Competizione, racing in some off-season action here as we wait for the impending opening round of the 2023 SRO America weekends. Great place to get some CrowdStrike friends and family together and go for a little bit of some racing around this couple kilometer circuit nestled in the woods. Very excited to be here with you today as we head down to the grid in just a moment. DJ, again, expectations, the opening laps of the race, keeping it clean, keeping out of trouble, watching the conditions change. There's so much to keep our eye on here as we get closer and closer to the start of this race.
Yeah, there certainly is. I mean, and to our point that we were talking about earlier, it's only about 29 degrees Celsius out on track right now, 23 degrees ambient temperature. So that's pretty chilly here for racing conditions. Drivers are really going to have to be a bit careful. Doesn't look like we have any rain forecast here today. It looks like it's going to stay just overcast here. So that's going to be something that these drivers have to keep in mind. Also important to note, no wind here. So we don't have to worry about any crosswind throwing these drivers off a little bit, nor do we have to worry about any real headwind or tailwind going down the straightaways to really play some havoc with the draft.
Yeah, the only thing to consider is now the shadows are a little bit sharper on the ground after qualifying, which means the track is a little warmer than it was, so the grip level could potentially be reduced. Although now with some rubber in the racetrack to help the Pirellis stick to the road, we're going to be in really good shape, I think, for the start of this race. Let's go through the starting lineup here on row number 1. It's going to be Josh Staffen in the number 93. Bill Clark will line up alongside him at the number 24. Their pro category entrance, DJ, but row 2 has our AM entry starting lineup.
Yes, it does. That's going to be Bill Strobel in the 888, and flanking him in the fellow BMW, it will be Vlad Dola.
Starting in row number 3, it's going to be Alexandru Turtan alongside Pratik Mishra in the number 7. They're our second row of AM class competitors.
We've got a little bit of a change in the row there with Meismer in 7th, and then W will be lining up as a pro entry in 8th in the first Porsche in the field.
All right, Summer will roll off in the inside of row number 5, and Alex Aso rolls off in 10th in the number 25 car.
Working our way back, we've got another 2 AM entries there in 11th. It's going to be Lassen, flanked by the second Honda NSX in Rusin.
Yeah, Rusin we've seen before in GT Rivals as well. Looks like Christian Kortz Anderson will roll off in 13th alongside Wyatt Henke in the number 3 car in 14th.
Lining up in 15th, it'll be Fabricius in that number 1 Nissan that we talked about. Mads in that very, very vibrant pink livery there. And then flanking him, it will be Small in the 666 Ferrari.
Andy Edwards in the number 21 McLaren. You see at the back of that shot, he is a pro class entrant in 17th. And Ryan Tomlinson will roll off alongside him in a prancing horse, a Ferrari in 18th place.
19th will be Jay Tan in the NSX number 73, followed by Meyer in the number 14 BMW.
And last row and a half, Will Thomas in the number 303, and Mark Warfield in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. And Elliott Whitfield in the number 78 will roll off in 23rd in a, looks like that is that a K-Pax racing car? It is not, it's Barwell Motorsport number 78 car. So, pace lap is underway. Next time we come back around, we're going to be going racing for 40 minutes. That's what's up on the clock here, DJ. And again, surviving lap number 1 is key, especially on the run up the hill. The first corner is a challenge. Everyone knows that Paddock Hill Bend is a tricky place to go, but up into Druids, that's perhaps your best and earliest passing opportunity.
Yeah, and we really tend to see fields massively concertina there going into that corner. Really big bunch up right there, and you've got to be very, very careful for multiple reasons. First and foremost is you've got to be braking with the drivers in front of you. You've got to be earlier on the binders there. Your tires and your brakes not going to be fully up to temperature at that point, and so that's going to be a big concern that you've got to be very, very careful. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a kerfluffle farther back in the field.
Everyone warming up their tires and warming up their brakes, getting their Pirellis in the best condition for the start of this green flag. Of course, the Pirelli tire will be just fine and dandy for the entire duration of this race. No pit stops expected here either, DJ. We're just going to get the green flag, and the next flag should be, hopefully, the white and the checkers.
Yes, indeed, it should. So nothing to stop any of this fantastic racing action that we see out on track. Staffen now leading the field down through Dingledale and through Sheens. Only a couple of more corners to go, and then we will see that green flag fly.
Looks like a little bit of a stack up there on the pace lap as everyone gets sorted. We'll have to get doubled up here soon. Staffen in the real-time racing Acura getting prepped to take the green flag. He'll select the inside line for Paddock Hill Bend. Bill Clark will head to the outside. A couple of BMWs in row number 2. 888 and the 5. Got the same horse for the same course. Should be a good show between those two as they battle for the AM Class Championship. Field is doubled up now through the final corner here at Brands Hatch Circuit behind the safety car. Safety car will pull in and hit pit lane. 40 minutes on the clock for the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League at one of the most famous circuits in Europe and certainly in the UK. Here we go. Staffen on the inside of the number 93, the orange, silver, and purple from Real Time Racing and Aaron Vogel Racing is at the pointy end for the start of this race. 40 minutes on the board, and time to go running at Brands Hatch, waiting for the start-finish line, and here we go. Green flag, we're racing in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League at Brands Hatch Circuit.
As we dive our way down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, looks like Staffen's going to look to press his advantage a little bit farther back down in the field. Drivers starting to sort themselves out into single file order a little bit. I saw a little bit of movement there from Turtan trying to make a good couple of goes, but here is Bill Strobel. That was Tola getting it a little bit wrong on the exit of Druids.
Yeah, making a little bit of a mistake. He's going to drop back behind. Turtan and Pratik Mishra are also going to battle there as Meismer in the Lamborghini is up in the mix here as we head on through the first couple of corners and towards the back straightaway for the first time. The field sorting itself out, but out front it's still that number 93 BMW side by side in the backdrop, and that TR3 Lamborghini, that's Meismer again, under fire from an Audi and on fire trying to chase that BMW.
Yeah, trying to see what he is able to do. I thought for a second he may have a little bit of a look into Hawthorne Bend, but as we said, that's a very difficult opportunity to get a pass done, so he's going to back out of it there. Just try to keep that car going in the best of his ability. The BMW known for a little bit of good straight line speed. The Lamborghini, good rotation around the corners, so this is going to be a little bit of a battle of different design philosophies as they run. Trying to see what he's able to do here, though. Good run by both drivers through Sterling's.
Yeah, one of the biggest things you'll notice here is it's not necessarily the manufacturer of the car that is going to win you the race at a particular racetrack. We're talking about horses for courses. I think it's more about the engine layout and what engine is under the hood or behind the driver. In the case of the Lamborghini, it's different certainly than the Ferrari, but you have to keep in mind their layout's pretty similar. So dynamically, the cars probably aren't really all that different when you compare it to something like a BMW or a Mercedes AMG, or even a rear engine car like the Porsche 911 GT3R, of which we have one with looks like John W's got that today. So engine layout might play a factor in at least the handling of your car and how aggressive you can be on throttle.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. The mid-engine there compared to the front engine layout of that BMW. A lot of weight over the front of the car, which means you're going to have that, Wyatt Heineke here with a little bit of trouble. The number 3 McLaren getting things wrong. Let's take a look here. Looks like he was under a little bit of an attack there from the Ferrari. This is coming down into Paddock Hill Bend. Just catches a little bit of that outside curbing that almost threw him around a little bit. Comes down now into Druids. Let's see what happens here. Oh, just catches a little bit of that curve.
Yeah, just throttled up, and then the car just kind of did that lazy spin, especially when you got traction control on. It's pretty challenging to kind of overcome that because the car will kind of get stuck. You can't counter steer, you can't throttle up and save it. So he'll drop down to 22nd here early in the going. Up front, though, Staffen has started to put some distance on Bill Clark. It's only half a second, though, so certainly not that comfortable for the overall leaders right now.
No, it's certainly not, and I want to give some massive credit here to Bill Clark, keeping things competitive with Josh Staffen, certainly just trying to hold in behind. One of the storylines that we talked about over the course of this race is just not making a mistake, and one of the things you can do, despite this being a hard track to overtake on, you can just kind of poke your nose this way and that in the rearview mirror of the driver in front of you and see if you can force them into a mistake, and that looks a little bit like what Clark is trying to do here.
Yeah, 7/10, that gap is increasing just a little bit. Let's jump a little bit deeper in the field. Here's Aso in the number 25 Audi. He's chasing down an Acura in front of him. That's Christian Cords Anderson in the number 42, the white and pink car up the road, and Jack Rusin in behind, the number 87 Acura. So a little bit of an Acura sandwich here, Audi in the middle.
Yeah, trying to do what they are able to do here is Alex Asso as we watch. Oh, that's going to be a spin around there for one of the BMWs. Couldn't get an eye line on exactly who that was. Oh, that's Mishra. Pratik Mishra having it all wrong, coming up and over Surtees.
Yeah, that's pretty late in the straightaway as well, so I'd like to get a look at how this happened here. He was running up inside the top 5 and then rolls through the corner here, and I wonder if he just throttles up. Yeah, right here, throttles up, and then same thing we saw with the McLaren. Oh, contact big time with the Lamborghini, and then rolled back across the road. But that was what triggered that, was just a little bit too much wheel spin, DJ, which you can control a little bit with traction control, but also your right foot has a play in that as well.
Yeah, it certainly does. Almost an unsafe rejoin there for him, but he's able to get things pointed back the right way. And Meismer there was that TR3 liveried Lamborghini that you saw. He's going to be dumped back down into 8th place right now, trying to regain a little bit as he comes back around. That's going to be Lassen up in front of him in the 111 Audi that he is now going to be trying to close in on.
The good news is I don't see a ton of damage on that car. The dive planes on the right side look a little bit torn up, but the car otherwise is in pretty good shape, and he's already re-attacking the 111 Audi, so I don't think this is going to hold him back too much, just a temporary displacement of position. You saw Cohn kind of knocked out of the way, so someone's been off-road again as Meismer has a look. Lassen chucks it into the left-hander. He misses it, though, and Meismer's going to come up the inside for position.
Good discretion there. You saw Meismer think about trying to get the move going through Surtees there, but backed off, not wanting to put himself into a position where that door was always going to close. Now he's going to stick behind Lassen. Probably going to be stuck behind here for the majority of this second half of the lap, but he is applying pressure, and I would not be surprised if we see an overtake going down into the first corner or down through Druids, but oh my goodness, he gets it a little bit wrong there, and that's going to lose him not only a chance to overtake, but he's going to be side by side with JW.
Yeah, here comes John W. up the inside in the GMG Racing Porsche, and he'll opportunistically take that spot away. It looked like Meismer was just trying to run his own line, but Lassen braked a little earlier than I think Meismer expected, caused a panic brake scenario. The car just did not steer with that much load on the left front tire, and he went a little bit wide, but you know, sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted, and John W's got one, and he's headed up now to try to run down that 111.
Well, and that's exactly what this is all about, taking advantage of others' misfortune, trying to find that opportunity where somebody makes a mistake and being in a position to absolutely pounce when that happens. That's a great run here from John W., but now we're going to have to see how he is. Oh, gets a little bit squirrely there coming off the corner, and we've got a big coming together.
Yeah, there's a couple cars torn up. Will Thomas was one of them, I think. Is that, that's the car we saw earlier. Wyatt in the number 3, so this has been a multi-car accident, and let's see what happens. I think Thomas might have a little, oh, there was the, yeah, it was the Nissan that was sideways, Mads Fabricus, and then Thomas gets loose, and then Mishra, the other car, that, so all 3 of the cars that had incidents separately had another one here just a couple laps later.
Yeah, a little bit of the domino effect there going on in the field, as there we see that number 3 McLaren, Henke, able to get it back under control, but not after ping-ponging down that little straightaway called Clearways in the run into Clark Corner. So a little bit lucky that they were able to get back going again. There's going to be some pretty hefty damage, though, I think, to that number 3 McLaren.
Yeah, Martin Lassen made a mistake, lost a spot to Meismer finally, so he will drop a position. So will Christian Cords Anderson. He's going to go around for a loop all on his own and lose a couple positions as well. So some mistakes here relatively early in this one, but DJ, if you're going to make a mistake, I'd rather make it early in the race and give yourself that full half hour to recover versus making it with 5 or 4 laps to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you make that mistake early on, as there we see Christian Cords Anderson being able to get a nice little move done going down through Sterling's. If you're going to make that mistake early, you're now able to put yourself in a position, give yourself a little bit of a mental reset as you come back through it and go, okay, this is what position I'm in. This is what I have to do, and then you can sort of decide if you want to be full attack aggressive or be a little bit more passive and hold back and just let the race come to you. You make that mistake in the last 5 minutes, you've got no choice but to be aggressive and attack.
Well, speaking of attack, Vlad Dola in the number 5 is attacking Bill Strobel. This is for the lead here in the M category, and they can't fight too hard or too much because you see the back of that shot, Alexandru Turtan and Alexis is just in the mirror. So if these two start to scrap, it could bring in the 88, make this 2-horse race a 3-horse race for first place.
Yeah, it certainly could, and with just as narrow as confines as this circuit are, I would not be surprised if we see that Lexus starting to come into play here. They bring their way down through Clark Curve right now. Looks like a good run for both Dola and Strobel, although Dola's going to get a little bit more umped as they come down the straightaway. Is he going to have a look down to the inside here going into Paddock Hill Bend? Yes, he is. Has the overlap, but decides to back out of it. Going to put a little bit of pressure here to the back of Strobel. To stay in single file. We may see a little bit of a move here into Druids, though.
This is really good stuff for the top spot. Turtan last time by was the quickest of the 3 of them. Reeled in Dola by 0.2 and Strobel by 0.8. So it looks like the 888 losing some speed here as he's kind of mirror driving to keep the 5 behind him. As you see Turtan run a little bit wide of the backdrop, but this is the best battle on the racetrack, and it's for the M-Class lead.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that mirror driving is not really something you want to be doing 24/7 around this circuit. You want to take your opportunities to glance in that rear view mirror, that rear view camera, know where your attacker is coming from. For the rest of the lap, you really want to just focus on the road. Not having, ooh, that's a car off in front. That's one of the Mercedes AMGs as they go by it. But to my point, what you want to do is you just want to keep your eyes focused on the road, because if you're looking in that rear view camera too much, it's going to throw you off, and it's going to throw you off your braking lines.
Yeah, I was trying to see which car that was. I think, was it Will Thomas again? It looks like he might have retired the car, so Darren Meyer, it was not, but looking down the rest of the field to try to see if we could spot it, didn't catch it. So one of the Mercedes definitely took a slide and an impact into the tire walls there at Brands Hatch. It can be a cruel mistress as far as making an impact goes late in the race here.
Yeah, it certainly can. You've got to be very, very careful about it. But now Dola not having quite the run that he had last time around, although it does look like we've got, ooh.
That's Mads Fabricus again off track at Paddock Hill Bend, and that was right ahead of our leaders. As you see, Vlad Dola's actually dropped behind Turtan, so that 88, while all that was going on, jumped into second place as Bill Strobel tries to put some distance on these two.
Yeah, Strobel's going to look like he's got a little bit of breathing room here at this point. That gap going to be here as they come across. Looks like about 3.5 seconds as they run. So plenty of good time there for Strobel to go. Oh, a little bit of a mistake there from Turtan. This is going to set up a side-by-side coming down the straightaway here.
Oh, they're 3 wide, 1 car in the dirt. That's a lap down McLaren, spearing off into the grass as it looks like the 5 will get back by, but immediately run off course. They're going to trade spots again. A great battle for second, using every inch of the road plus 5 feet.
Everything they can. It's exactly what you want to see here in GT3 racing, as Turtan now going to be back in the catbird seat, going to try to go ahead, car off in front of them. Not entirely sure who that is, but again, lap traffic may not actually have any sort of a hold up necessarily here, as we see a lot of drivers just getting out of the way, but it can have a little bit of that mental breakaway that you have to recognize that car in front of you, and just getting out of your rhythm for that split second can be enough to throw you off.
Yeah, it's Darren Meyer in the 14 who's about to go a lap down to these drivers. He's going to let the first driver on by, and Turtan will squeeze up. Oh, he bailed out into turn 1, didn't want to get side by side. He'll try at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend and get by, but he lost some precious time while battling that BMW for position. So you see the 14 run a little wide. So that will kill that battle for the moment. How about one for 11th? This is Ryan Tomlinson in the 23 Ferrari and Andy Edwards in the 21, just behind the McLaren.
Yeah, good little battle here that we have, Ferrari and McLaren. Where have we heard that battle before? As Edwards now tries to get his way up behind. He's going to run a little bit wide there on exit, but that's still going to be within good bounds. Not going to lose too much traction there. Coming through the apex of Druids, that's a nice late apex from Edwards. That's how you want to take that corner if you really want to be able to get on the throttle a little bit early.
Yeah, there's a couple places around this circuit. Paddock Hill Bend is one. The exit of the downhill corner, that left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. There is some off-track runoff you can use. It's called grasscrete, is how I've heard it described. And basically, it's like kind of like a concrete lattice that's kind of implanted in the dirt. And it's mostly pavement, but it's certainly not as grippy as the road. But you can drop tires out there and it won't be a huge deal. You saw Edwards use some of that. You see Tomlinson actually running wide. Paddock Hill Bend's got a little concrete on exit you can use, but you can't run too wide there. You'll pick yourself up a penalty.
Oh, and I thought for sure there that Andy Edwards was going to have a little bit of a problem coming through West Hill Bend, but he was able to get it underneath him. We've got another car there kicking up some dirt in front of this battle as it grows ever and ever closer.
Yeah, I think that's the 14 car again. Meyer, he's going to move left and let this battle for 11th go on by. You see the blue flags waving from the flag stand as Meyer knocks over a couple more corner boards. Hopefully no one was using those as markers, because they will no longer be there.
Yeah, and that's one of the dangers when you focus in on some of those movable objects around the circuit, is you can certainly get yourself thrown off a little bit if there is a car going off track. But right now, we check back in on that battle between Dola and Turtan. It holds at about 0.7 of a second. Turtan just trying to apply some consistent slow pressure here.
Yeah, they've lost a lot of time to Strobel with all this, which is a little strange because Strobel was making some mistakes the previous couple of laps and still isn't lapping all that quick, but Dola and Turtan have slowed down a ton the last couple of laps, a couple of mistakes and battling each other. And you know, you got to see the forest for the trees here, DJ. The battle is for the 888. If you get too bogged down fighting for second, you'll never have a shot at the lead.
Yeah, exactly, and I think the reason for Strobel being able to slip off into the distance is twofold. Number one, this battle that you saw playing out here a little bit, but it's also the point I was making a little bit earlier. Strobel doesn't have that pressure from behind. He doesn't have to be glancing in his rearview mirrors. And now he's just able to focus on driving and put in some pretty good, quick, and consistent lap times. And that's really allowing him to just pull away.
Oh, he will now, as Strobel sprints away. Dola was going to put some distance on Turtan. Let's chunk a little bit deeper in the field with some drivers we haven't talked a whole lot about yet. There's Julius Tan in the number 73. He's got Ryan Small just behind him. That's the 666 Ferrari. This is a fight for 13th place.
Fight for 13th right now. Ryan Small having a good line there through the corner, trying to see what they're able to do. They're going to get around a little bit of lap traffic. I believe that's Whitfield that they just were able to work their way around right now. Small trying to size it up early onto the binders going down into Paddock Hill Bend. It's not going to do him any favors on corner entry, but on corner exit he should be able to carry a little bit more speed, but it does look like Tan's starting to streak away there a little bit. That's going to be off the apex. Here comes the battle.
Yeah, just drove in there too deep, couldn't get the car slowed down, and Small slides on exit, so a mistake on entry for Tan, mistake on exit for Small, and come out kind of net zero there on that exchange. And not too far back is another Acura. This is the 87, Team CrowdStrike. Great looking livery on this 87, by the way, if we can get a closer look at it. The red and black, kind of the reddish orange of the CrowdStrike colors as Rusin tries to run down that battle for 13th, just a couple seconds ahead.
Yeah, it's great use of the livery there on one of the prettiest cars, I would have to say, in the paddock. So very, very good to see that there. But Rusin, as you said, trying to close down a little bit on Small up ahead of him. Small and Tan in a little bit of a battle here. So that could be good news to the ears of the 87. As there you see Ryan Small and Tan coming up behind him a little bit in that fellow Acura as they continue to go. Here's another little battle. Alex Assetto trying to close in on Lawson up in front.
Yeah, there's a couple of little skirmishes breaking out. One other car on the wall, that's the Nissan, the number 1 that we've seen have an interesting day so far. Mads Fabricus is the 25, dives hard into Druids, but can't get Lawson's overlap here. He's going to try again down at left-hander and head to the back stretch, but a little bit wide there and just doesn't carry the speed that he needs. But little skirmishes kind of breaking out all over the place, and this is the sign of a good race, as we've got these 2, 3, 4 car battles here and there. You see Myers picked up a drive-through somehow as round goes to 25, slips and slides.
Oh, and that was just a little bit of understeer picked up on the exit of Surtees that he didn't necessarily account for. Got onto the throttle as he was coming out over to the grass there on the right-hand side of the track, and that was enough to spin him around. Looks like Alex is going to be able to get himself back out and going there. Looks like he's going to be able to escape with relatively minimal damage, but that was a pretty devastating lick there for him. Ryan Small right now, we're going to focus back on him as the battle with Tan continues to play out.
He's actually gotten by the 73. So with all that, I noticed this is the 666 past that accident site that he has gotten by the 73, and now Rusin barking up the tailpipes of the other fellow Acura here. Good little scrap as the 73 runs wide. He's just off his rhythm right now. You mentioned this is a rhythm racetrack here, DJ, and it can be hard. They're going to touch, and they're both going to spin at Sterling's.
Again, that lazy spin that we talked about there, assisted a little bit by the traction control. Just contact there. Looks like that blue, that purple and gold machine a little bit off the apex there. I think picked up a little bit of understeer coming down into the corner, and that was enough to send Rusin around. Yeah, so they're going to lose some positions after that exchange there, and probably be a little frustrated with how that turned out. But drivers have long memories. We'll see if they remember this the next time out. But I don't think it was intentional. But you can never tell the other guy that. You're always, saying, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that," and they'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah." Next time they'll forget. Oh, and the 73 is going to get hip checked again and come back across again and hit the 87. Now that one, there is absolutely no question. There was nothing the 73 could do there point. Just out of control. They're trying to get the car back underneath them, and there you see contact with the 666. Yeah, that was just really bad luck. After all the things we just mentioned, that was just bad luck that time. And now they've got some damage as well as they let Staffen on by. By the way, he's still leading the pro category race by a handful of seconds over Bill Clark, so no changes there as we reach the halfway point of round 2 of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. One car bouncing off the fence down the backstretch. Yeah, drivers getting into a little bit of problems there, but everybody trying to keep it as clean as they can. Josh Staffen continues to lead this race, able to pull out about a 7/8 of a second advantage here over Clark, just doing exactly what he needs to do to dominate a race like we saw him do at Bathurst. Yeah, and he's just, again, showing his experience. Did so well in the original SRO Esports Championship, the GT Rivals Championship in 2020, and then returned to that series over and over. But as it got more competitive, he kind of slipped down the order. But here he is in his element, and you see him just continuing to put some distance on Bill Clark, who's now 8 seconds behind. Battle for 10th heating back up. Tomlinson and Edwards going back at it, Ferrari versus McLaren. Yes, they are, and Edwards here in that chasing McLaren. Good line there coming out of Graham Hill Bend, just holding in behind a little bit later on the binders there going into Surtees. Let's see if he's able to keep that time that he gained. Good job onto the acceleration there for that number 21 of Edwards. This is certainly shaping up to be a nice little battle. Yeah, this is going to get better before it doesn't. Edwards chasing Tomlinson here through the high kind of velocity section of this course. You see some dirt kicked up ahead of them. This is my favorite section here, these right-handers, so you just have to carry so much speed. You're prioritizing the exit so much more than the entry.
being aggressive on the apex here. Both of them stay off the inside as they're going to catch this lap traffic BMW. Blue flag's waving for it, as Tomlinson's going to catch him on corner exit.
Yeah, and it looks like that is going to be Mishra that they have to deal with right now. Mishra just going to be driving the racing line here, as he is entitled to do a little bit off the apex, but that's going to be a big check up there for Tomlinson as they come down the main straightaway, trying to see what he is going to be able to do. He's going to look down to the inside here, not seeing any desire to get out of the way there for Mishra, as he is entitled to do those blue flags, merely observational here.
Yeah, they're not compulsory. You don't have to pull over like you would in some other championships. It's just an advisory flag that there is faster traffic approaching. Remember though, Pratik has just had a bad run today. Typically he's up kind of in the front of the AM group, so he's fighting for his points this season. If he has a bad round here, he's going to suffer in this relatively short championship, so he needs to carry what he's got, and that doesn't mean moving over and letting people by. He's going to have to fight for it. Your laps down at this stage, you're not going to gain many spots back unless others have accidents, but you certainly can avoid giving them up, and anytime you slow down, you're inviting those behind you to catch you.
Yeah, you most certainly are, and so the question here is going to be how is he going to respond to that? Looks like he's able to get some good speed and build up that gap a little bit once again between himself and the Ferrari of Tomlinson, so he's not going to have to worry about it too much here at this point. I think that was just a little bit of an errant couple of corners there for Pratik, and now he's able to just be racing as if he were going along.
Back up to 12th place. 25 of Asos just ahead. Jack's on board with Ryan Small now in the 666. Ooh, really tight to the edge of the road there. This is just one of those areas that if you just drop a tire in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you've got the car loaded up, you're going to have a really big accident. And actually, interestingly, he's going to pull over and let Staffen on by, despite being locked in this fight with the 25 just ahead. So that was that was very nice of him. But again, he's just chasing the 25, so he didn't have to do that.
Yeah, he is. By the way, we've got a couple of drivers coming down into pit lane. Looks like Fabricius and Meismer coming in as well. I think maybe some damage there to that TR3 Lamborghini, and that's going to bring him on into the pits. And so he is going to be plummeting down the order. I show him at about 15th place as of right now.
Yeah, this is going to lose him a couple of laps as well, but in pit lane, likely fixing damage. We saw the one have a handful of accidents, so that's certainly going to hurt his efforts today. Keep an eye on whether or not they return to the racetrack. But I want to jump back to the Edwards and Tomlinson battle, because it is not getting any less exciting as we get down to the final 15 minutes or so of this race. You're starting to run out of time and opportunities, DJ, which means you got to get up on that wheel and run down the guy ahead of you.
Yeah, this is the point when I talked about earlier where if you made a mistake earlier on in the race, you have the ability, that's a little bit of an off there for the Ferrari up in front. Tomlinson making a mistake, and now Edwards recognizes that is coming on, and he is going to be pushing like the Dickens to see if he is able to get in and close down.
Well, you know that you're in his head. Edwards is in Tomlinson's head, who's going to run really wide at the exit of the final corner, as here comes Edwards now with a big run to the inside of Tomlinson. Battle for position. This is for 9th, and looks like the 21 almost has it, but he bails out before Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, he's going to pull back there, not wanting to fully commit into what can be a little bit of a dangerous corner to go side by side. I like that heads up, but as you said, Kyle, with only about 15, 16 minutes left to go in the race, Edwards needs to keep this pressure up, and he needs to make this pass sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think he is noticing, though, that Tomlinson is making mistakes. Didn't feel the need to force that pass, because he's put Tomlinson in a couple of compromising positions. So if he can have an easier go at it, he'll choose that opportunity versus forcing a low percentage move into the first corner. So I like that strategy. I did think he was far enough alongside that he could have committed a little bit more, but again, the chances of that turning into an accident were higher than Tomlinson going off on his own, which he almost did 2 corners before that.
Yeah, almost did there. So let's just see how Edwards decides to play this as they work their way now down through the right-hander, trying to see what he's going to be able to do down through Dingledale right now. Ryan Tomlinson doing a good job of withstanding the pressure here at this point. And of course, as I say that, he and Edwards go off for an excursion.
Yeah, both drivers pushing too hard now. Maybe Edwards a little bit of tunnel vision, just kind of locked on the tailpipes of the Ferrari. And this is something that when you're racing in the real world, it's one of the first things instructors will tell you is don't lock your vision on the car ahead of you, because you're just going to end up subconsciously copying their inputs and end up going off track when they go off track. You got to watch the road ahead, and it's so hard to train yourself not to do that. It's just so easy to kind of get fixated. Target fixation is what they'll call that. And in that case, Edwards went off track and didn't gain any more time, and he's got the overall race leader bearing down as well, so this could split up this fight too.
Yeah, it certainly could as well, depending on how they want to deal with those blue flags that are coming their way. It's going to be very interesting to see. Here is Staffen as we ride on board with that number 93, trying to see what he is going to be able to get from all of this. He's going to have to be careful, and the other thing he will be aware of here is as he comes up behind them, he will know that this is a battle for position, and that's going to change his calculus as he tries to approach them. Remember, he's got a bunch of time between himself and Clark here at this point, and so it's not like it is an imperative that he needs to get by as quick as possible. He's able to pick his lanes, pick his decisions to go by.
Yeah, he doesn't have to force this, but I think he's not going to wait around too long either, because being behind here is, with these guys fighting so hard, he could get caught up in their issues here. So he's going to go around the outside, and wow, that was very, very kind of Edwards. These guys are treating Staffen like royalty today, TJ. He's making his life easy.
Yeah, it certainly is making it very, very easy for Staffen, and I've got to say that is some of the good sportsmanship that you do see oftentimes in this series. Drivers being very, very cognizant of that. As we said, blue flags not mandatory to get out of the way for. That is all down to sportsmanship and driver's discretion.
Through Paddock Hill Bend now, under 13 minutes to go. Tomlinson will let the 93 on by as well, not quite as easily as they did before. Other fights to keep our eyes on, Strobel and Dola, they've been sorted out for a while. Nicholas Sommer, we haven't talked a lot. Whoop, look out, Tomlinson has to bail to the inside of a lap-down Lamborghini. We haven't talked a lot about this guy today, Nicholas Sommer, but he's having a very good race in a podium spot in the AM category, running top 5 overall. Quiet race, and DJ, typically a quiet race, you're either having a quietly good one or a quietly bad one, and this is the former.
Yeah, it certainly is, and especially at a track like Brands Hatch. If you've got a quiet race, that's normally 9 times out of 10 a ticket to good success around here. So he is driving pretty well here at this point. He does have John W. coming up behind him, but that's going to be not for class position, as John is a pro and Sommer is an AM. So we may see him just kind of let him go here at this point, knowing that that's not going to be for class position, not going to be for class points, and doesn't want to have to get involved into a battle. The other flip of that is if you're a racer and you've got a driver coming up behind you, you're going to want to race.
Yeah, I think at this stage, I think they're both probably feeling like they've got enough confidence to scrap a little bit here, but you're right, not for class position. And John W. did not get a very good qualifying effort, so this is going to kind of reestablish what the classing says he should be, and that should be up towards the other pros that are in the field. Edwards the same. Not great qualifying efforts, but they have kind of reshuffled the deck here in the first 30 minutes or so of this race. John is going significantly faster than Sommer as well. Last time by 4/10 faster as they also approach a Mercedes AMG that's a couple laps down, and they're going to squeeze on through.
Yeah, a little bit of a sketchy moment there coming through Sheens, but they are able to get on by as they go. Watching right here as this battle continues to percolate a little bit. John W. closing in behind, better on the binders there, going down to Clark Curve, but missed the apex a little bit, and that's going to throw him off just a little bit.
Yeah, just enough to delay perhaps the inevitable with just 10 minutes to go and less than 10 laps to go at this stage. About a minute and 25 seconds a lap or so based on Staffen's pace, who is leading the race right now. And in terms of battles on track, they have kind of fizzled a little bit. We're looking to see where else there might be one. I think this is our best battle on the track, so we'll stay here for the time being. Stomper runs a little wide. John's going to close in.
Yeah, runs a little bit wide there on the exit of Grand Hill Bend, and going to try to take a little bit of a later apex into Surtees. You see the two different ways you can really approach that corner. John W. hugging the curbs the entire way through, whereas you had Sommer taking that later apex, as we mentioned. It looked like it worked out pretty well for both drivers. Not really any time gained or lost by either of them. A little bit of a better run, though, going down, but a little bit of a wider run there coming through Hawthorne for Sommer, and that's going to allow for John W. to catch back up.
I like having the Porsche here specifically as well, DJ, because one of the things we know about rear-engine platforms is they turn on throttle. They are mega understeering off throttle. What I like about that is that it forces you to have good driving habits around a place that requires so much momentum. A lot of the corners here require you to get back on throttle really early to carry speed down these straightaways in these kind of short shoot sections in the trees. The Porsche will force you to do that. It will force you to get on throttle for the car to steer. The other cars will not necessarily have that characteristic, which means you're going to be more prone to mistakes. But John's piloted this Porsche up into the top 10, needs one more spot to be top 5.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job to be able to keep himself up and going here as much as possible. And here we go as we close down here with about 9 minutes left to go in the race. I think we're going to see a little bit of positions changing around potentially. Here is Jack Rusin, though, into pit lane there on the number 87 Acura.
Yeah, I think he just hit pit lane on his own here, so not exactly sure. Maybe fixing some damage. Didn't see a penalty or anything. So perhaps that Acura has just had one too many incidents. We saw him collected in those 2 earlier with the 73, who is still on track right now, running in the 14th spot. So 73 will have the last lap of those 2.
Yeah, certainly will. Here's a little bit of a battle farther back in the field. This is Julius Tan right now in the number 73 machine, that very, very brightly liveried Acura NSX here as they work their way down into the corner. I don't believe that's a battle for position for the number 73s. Indeed, that is a slower lap car. I believe that is Mark Warfield there, and indeed, he's going to be able to get on by.
Yeah, Warfield is down a lap to Tan, 19 laps complete to Tan's 20. So he will give up another spot. He is the highest running of the Mercedes crew today, the other Mercedes AMG. Elliott Wood, there was one more in the field, wasn't there? I could have sworn. Yes, Will Thomas in the 303. That car is out of the race for the time being as we jump back up to 5th place. Nicholas Sommer and John W. Again, not a lot of volatility in the battles at the moment. The top 4, top 5 are relatively spaced out, and John W. is just trying to reel this 11 back in. But Nicholas has found some pace here and kept John behind him. Well paced is Sommer's number 11 Audi.
Yeah, doing a very, very good job here at this point. Sommer, I'm very impressed. I thought he would have been under a lot more pressure here from John W., but W just not able to get the car to go here at this point. And we're seeing this play itself out as we ride on board with the GMG livery Porsche here at this point. That gap expanded to about 1.6 seconds. A very, very well-seasoned drive here from Sommer up in front.
Yeah, I just wonder if John kind of overcooked the Pirellis here and maybe he's burning off their performance. To see a little bit of a slide, so he might have kind of lit up the rear tires a few too many times over the course of this race and kind of burned some of the performance off. The Pirellis will take a lot of abuse before they start to show degradation, but it looks like John might have gone one step too far, and Sommer's been a little bit kinder perhaps to the shoes on his number 11 so far. Stacked up a little bit behind the 78 though, and that's going to force this battle to be a little closer, under 7 minutes to go.
That's going to bring them a little bit closer in here as they go, and now it's going to be about 0.5 of a second as they cross over the line. So that's not exactly here what Sommer wants to see. He wanted to be able to kind of streak off into the distance and not have to worry about it, but the battle is most certainly on, especially considering John W. much better onto the binders there coming down into Druids.
Yeah, about a car length and a half between the two. I don't think John was going to run him back down naturally, but a little bit of assistance from some lap traffic, and he's got Sommer right back in his sights. And again, when you're this close, your biggest threat is perhaps just being a distraction, maybe not even getting alongside. But John is just not able to get out of the corner very well, as opposed to the Audi that is just sprinting away on these straightaways.
Yeah, he's really getting off and getting a good run there as they go, and just doesn't look like he's really able to close that in as much as he would like to here at this point. But let's see, we still have a little bit of time left here in this race. Not necessarily enough to get a massive, massive advantage, but he's going to have to take advantage here while he can. Let's wait and see what it'll play itself out.
Yeah, they saw the 11 run 4 tires off in the grass, so he is pushing pretty hard to keep this 32 behind him now that he's feeling some more pressure, but he's running out of laps is John, so only 5 minutes left, maybe 4 laps at this stage, pretty close to it. So just a couple more revolutions and a couple more times to make mistakes. But this is still the closest battle on the racetrack, that is for position. So we watch for 5th overall. Quickly just checking up front, Josh Steffen's got quite the traffic stack ahead of him, but thankfully he's got a 21-second lead to help bleed off here as he approaches the start-finish line. And he also, I'm sure, would like to see the white flag come out here so he doesn't have to deal with all these cars.
Yeah, I'm sure he would like to see that come out, but under 5 minutes to go here. Staffen going to have to sort of pick his way around right now, see what he is able to do. He's got a little bit to deal with, but the good news is he has got a big gap between himself and Clark, so he is able to work through these drivers at his own leisure. Doesn't have to be super aggressive in trying to go around them here and giving plenty of berth there to the number 73 of Tan, and he'll be able to get on by him.
Yeah, pulled the car hard left to get by the 73. Just has one more car on the list. That's the one of Mats Fabricus that we saw had a couple of offs today, but has the car repaired and is back on the road. And by the way, that battle position, that was not in a battle there, that's Julius Tan in the 73, who's 14th. The car that just got by him is the, what car was that? Which Audi? That wasn't ASO.
I don't believe.
Oh, it was Lassen.
So.
It was the 111 of Lassen, who's a lap ahead.
Right.
So, whoop, one car goes for a little off-track excursion. And Lassen does have Turtan not too far back and some lap traffic to navigate for the 88.
Yeah, the 88 here going to have to work his way through, including that Nissan of Fabricus right there up in front of him. They're having a little bit of a wide run there in that very bright liveried machine as they come down now into Clark Curve, trying to work their way through. You can see there he's going to be able to get on by in the Lexus. So Turtan trying to close that gap. It's now at about 1.6 seconds. Let's see what it is as they cross over the line. It has grown courtesy of that traffic, now up to about 2.5.
Yeah, I guess Lassen, if he gets stuck behind this 78 here, that could be a challenge, but it doesn't appear that will happen. It's going to just drive right on by through Druids. And the gap for 5th place between Sommer and JW has not closed in either. It's still 0.8 of a second. So we've got our eyes on all the battles, as many as we can watch at once. But where's Josh Staffen now critically? Because under 2 minutes and 25 seconds to go, I think we're going to get 2 more at the stripe, but it could very well be 1 here, DJ. So let's run on board Staffen. He's got nothing but clear road ahead of him and 22 seconds behind him to Bill Clark.
Yeah, he is in a very good position here, just absolutely nailing those corners as he works his way down here through Dingledell and now into Sheens. A little bit of correction there that he's got to put into the wheel as now he gets onto the binders, going down into Sterling's. Sit around, having a good run here. Let's keep an eye on that clock. I think this is going to be a little bit close, but I think we're going to be 2 to go with the line. Yeah,
it should be 2 to go. It'll have about around 10 seconds away from having that been the white flag. This time through, Josh Staffen picks up 2 laps to go. And this race will be over within about 3 minutes time. That's how fast things tick by here. Back to the battle for 5th. There's the difference. Sommer and that's the 14 car again. Darren Meyer going around for a loop in the backdrop. But John W. running out of opportunities. He's also going to have about 2.5 laps left to catch this 11, but I think that is slipping away from his grasp here late in this race.
Yeah, I think so too here, Kyle. It's about 0.7 of a second, the gap right now, and we just haven't seen the outright grunt here from John W. to really be able to close this down and get this move to fly. As they're in front, we've got a little bit of a wide run. I think the only way that John's going to be able to get this move to go is if we see a big mistake here from Sommer.
Oh man, that's so close to the edge of the road. On the run down to Sterling's, I've seen so many cars clip the grass on the left and then swing back across to the right. It does appear like that gap came down slightly in this final sector, but with 40 seconds left, as these drivers battle, Staffen is rounding the last couple of corners, and he's going to be coming back to a white flag waving.
Yes, he is, as now he is going to have a little bit of lap traffic in front of him there. That's going to be the number 14 that he's going to have to deal with. That's Meyer. But again, with that big gap, he is going to be able to pick and choose where he wants to go by. It's not going to be that much of a problem there for him. And there you see Meyer just getting out to the way in that damaged BMW. White flag in the air for Josh Staffen. 1 time around left for Staffen. Bill Clark, by the way, he's got Strobel not too far behind. Great effort by Strobel. You see him in the backdrop there, leading AM-class car, and he is outperforming half of the pros today. So Strobel is going to be earning this one if he can get back around, as Clark has to deal with some lap traffic as well. Back to Sommer and John W. A little bit of lap traffic here potentially to throw this into the mix. A little bit of lap traffic. This could be exactly what John W. was hoping for here at this point as the clock hits 0. look out back there of John W. looking on front right now. He's going to have a little bit of a look down into the inside here. He knows this is the opportunity, and he's got to try to go for it.
Yeah, this McLaren is going to slow up Sommer, but it's just going to be once. John's got to carry good momentum here. McLaren runs wide. He's within striking distance. About a car length and a half back, a little bit of a bobble through Sterling's, just didn't get the run, didn't capitalize on that like he needed to get this top 5. He's still going to have one lap left though, so we'll check back in next time around though. But for Josh Staffen, heading down to Sterling's here in just a moment, he has been perfect again. Think back to Bathurst about a month ago. He put on a show, drove away. He's going to do the same thing again here today, DJ, and Josh Staffen will pick up win number 2 in the pros ahead of Bill Clark at Brands Hatch, the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League.
Absolutely remarkable stuff from Staffen as he comes to the line.
Checkered flag, Josh Staffen wins round 2 in the pro category in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Bill Clark is going to swing back around. He'll come home in 2nd place, 20 seconds back from Staffen, and Bill Strobel should come home in 3rd place as it stands. Martin Lassen comes on 7th. They're going to get the checkered behind the leader because they're a lap down. But here's Bill Clark on the final run here. Final straight. Well-earned 2nd place, but just needed some more pace to run down Staffen. Bill Strobel, fantastic run and just a couple seconds shy of 2nd overall. He's going to pick up a win here and pull a little bit closer to the championship lead ahead of Vlad Dola, who was your championship leader here in the AM class coming into the day. He's going to lose a little bit of ground here to the 888 and some damage as well, but he will make it to the end and finish 2nd in AM. And Sommer, by the way, coming to the start-finish line. He should be 5th overall, DJ, and this is going to be a great run. Podium in AM and a top 5 overall.
Yeah, a fantastic run here, and the thing that most impressed me about this run from Nicholas Sommer is the fact that he was able to hold on that stout defense to John W. That is the big takeaway here from me. That shows he has got poise under pressure and is able to respond when that comes.
Yeah, so with all the finishers now, checkered flag is out. We'll take a quick moment before we run through our race results. And this was a fun one, DJ. I like this track a lot. There were some good little battles here and there throughout the event. But at the end of the day, your winner was the 93 in Pro and the 888 in AM.
Yes, indeed. A great run there for them. As you can see, the full results there across the board. A couple of disappointing days out there. I think Fabricas, one of the ones that we were hoping was going to have a little bit of a good run. Not the best run there for him, but still a fantastic race up and down the field.
Yeah, so Josh Staffen gets it done in the pro category. Bill Clark 2nd. Then in 3rd in pro, it was JW, and Edwards will round out the pro class in 4th. And down in 10th overall. In the AM category, Bill Strobel and Vlad Dola and Nicholas Sommer. Top 3 in AM, 888, 5, and 11. Then it was Lassen, Turtan, and Tomlinson. Those 3 had a pretty good fight throughout most of the race. Then it was Aso, Small, and Cord Anderson. The next 3, followed by Tan, Mishra, Meismer, and then of course you mentioned Fabricas, Whitfield, and from Henke on down. Just some drivers that didn't have the best of days, DJ. They're looking forward to the next one, which will be coming up in a little over a month.
Yes, indeed, and I too am very much looking forward to that race as we continue to march along here in the season, and that will be in the new year, as you mentioned, and that will be at Suzuka, one of my personal favorite circuits to visit.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the next event. Suzuka's a fun place. It's got so much speed, and you've got a lot of high downforce corners, a couple hairpins as well, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch. Suzuka up next for the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League in 2023. If you'd like to look out for this championship, you can find out information on the SimGrid or join the Discord. Thank you so much for joining us here today, DJ. Final thoughts on Brands Hatch as we look forward to Suzuka next year.
Well, I think it's going to be a very similar run when we get to Suzuka. It's a place that overtaking is a little bit difficult at. There's a lot of fast-flowing corners, and it's a real driver's track, as is Brands Hatch. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very technical, and I think the driver who is able to make the least mistakes is going to be the one to top the charts.
Top of the charts today, Josh Staffen and Bill Strobel in their respective categories. I'm Kyle Heyer with DJ Clark. Happy holidays. We'll see you in 2023 at Suzuka for the 3rd round of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League Championship. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.